Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and today it's just me, at least for 3 videos, because Kneon is busy elsewhere. And that's the nice thing about being a team. If you can't work together, one of you can take over when the other one can't. So today, speaking of teams, we're going to talk about the Fantastic Four and their fantastic leader, Sue Storm. Because according to the director, Matt Shankman, Sue Storm is the leader. And this comes from Fandom Pulse. It came originally from Empire magazine, that, Vanessa Kirby is all about, physics now, quantum physics now, because she learned all about it to play this part. And she's a girl nerd. And Sue Storm is technically like the big boss of the Fantastic Four now. Which, if you watch the trailer that came through, if you watched our videos, I talked about that. I know Kneon talked about that. We were very concerned about the fact they kept showing her as if she were the one in charge. When the Silver Surfer showed up asking, if they're the protectors, whatever, she's the one that said yes. It wasn't Reed. Reed Richards, who's normally the leader, Mr. Fantastic. No, it was Sue Storm who said so and answered the question. So before we get into it any further, please like and subscribe. If you do, I'll give you a woohoo, and we're going to talk about this. So yeah, Kneon was very, very excited about the Fantastic Four. I wish he was on this video because he'd have a lot to add, I'm sure, because he's really familiar with the comics and everything else more than I am. I'm not going to lie and say that I am. That being said, he was very excited about it. I love the retro futuristic vibe of it too. Like, that's something that I've always loved, that time period. Like I said before, my grandmother, her kitchen was done in that retro futuristic look for years, and including the Sputnik lights and everything. And to this day, I have a soft spot for that. I just adore it. I love it so much. But that's where his excitement is now ending, because the more he sees, the more he's kind of like concerned. If you're familiar with the comics, the dynamics, Sue Storm is awesome, and she is a strong woman. However, just because you're a strong woman doesn't mean you have to be in charge. And they're, of course, pushing this narrative, but Reed Richards is normally the leader. He's like the smartest man in the MCU, or one of the smartest people in the MCU. He is a strong leader. And they're kind of pushing him aside for Vanessa Kirby. I'm not too happy about that. And we already know that her brother, Johnny, is already starting to sound more and more like a kinder, gentler, I'm worried about your feelings type of guy. And that would not be the character. Right or wrong about how he was in the comics, that's his character, and everybody expects that. And you're changing it for modern audiences that don't even really care, and they probably going to come to this movie anyway. So according to Fandom Pulse, they're talking about this interview, and they said Fantastic Four First Steps director Matt Shankman shared more details about the upcoming film, and specifically Sue Storm's role in the film. So they described her as essentially the General Secretary of the UN. So I actually went out to the article here. It's a very short article, actually, but they're talking about it, and they were talking about, her, Vanessa Kirby, and how she's this, such a big geek now when it comes to quantum physics. I'm such a Sue nerd, Kirby tells Empire. Were you before you wanted to play the character? Or is that just a new thing because it's a character that's going the way you want it to go? She said back to her first meeting at Marvel, I think I out-nerded everyone in that room. So did you study just for the role? That carried on into her preparation for the role. No, okay, so she out-nerded everyone, and then that carried into her preparation for the role. She had, Sue's powers are to bend and manipulate light so she can render herself invisible. She can create force fields, propel energy blasts, etc. So Kirby started exploring hardcore levels of science. I got so into quantum physics. She laughs. It's sad how much I got into it. I could waffle on about cellular vibration frequency. Look, I know one, guys. This version of the character, director Matt Shankman says, is the inspiring, idealistic leader of what the Fantastic Four represents, as she is in some of the later comic runs. So, as she is in the later comic runs, you mean the ones for the modern audience? Because no one's ever, disputing that Sue Storm was a strong woman. No one's ever disputing that she wasn't very smart in her own right. No one was ever disputing that. But she wasn't the leader. I mean, it was well established that Reed Richards was the leader, and he was very important, not only to the Fantastic Four, but Marvel in general. And he was a very, very smart man who could lead a lot of different groups and stuff over the years. no one's saying she's not a leader, but if you're making her the focus of the film, then you completely miss the point of why people are getting mad. You're just extending the MCU longer. And look, I'm a woman, and before everybody's like, well, you just hate everything. I don't. I like strong female characters. I like strong female characters like girl power. I just like it done right. I like it to make sense. And of course, maybe they'll do it in a way that makes sense. But a lot of times it's just, you're the smartest, the bestest, the Mary Sue. And I don't like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being smart and, not being a leader. There's nothing wrong with, being a mom and being a strong female character, because being a mom itself makes you strong. There's so many things you can be strong for, but they will not do a woman that's strong unless she's the damn leader. Like they were trying to make Captain Marvel, the new leader and everything else. Cause well, she's strong, but there's so many different ways that women can be strong. Just like men, there's so many different ways men can be strong too. But you're taking established dynamics and you're changing it just for narrative. And that's the problem. And I'm getting really, really sick of it. And then this is what turns people against it. And then when you do have legitimately good, strong female characters, they're not going to go see them because they're just going to think it's more of the same. And I do worry about that. Yeah, he said, talking about it here, he said, and she's essentially the Secretary General of the UN. And they're talking about her being pregnant, and then a lot of it's about the relationship between Storm and Reed Richards, and it's basically core to the comics. And the impending arrival of their child puts the apocalyptic coming of Galactus into sharper relief. So it's a relationship movie. So she's the leader of the Fantastic Four, and he's there, because he's the man, and because it's based on the 60s, he needs to look like he's the leader. But the real leader is her, and it's all about their relationship. Which, look, I get it, because there always was, a lot about their relationship in there. But you guys had the Fantastic Four. People were excited, and then somehow you found a way to destroy the excitement. And here's the thing: if you just kept your mouth shut, you just, showed and not told, people wouldn't be like worried about it now. That's all you had to do. And then you have these actors coming out and they're making these comments, like Joseph Quinn and stuff he was saying about, his character and everything else. They're making these comments, and now the audience is like, wait a minute. And if you just keep your mouth shut, if you don't have the director saying out there, she's the leader, people will go. Because a lot of times they say this stuff, and then when you go to the movie, it turns out it's not to the level they play it up to be ahead of time, as they're trying to, go out there and do PR and win this new audience and the modern audience and all that. Like D&D, the D&D movie. Oh, we, emasculate men. But they did it. But by saying that, people didn't go to the movie. Or the Blue Beetle, by making the comments about Batman as a fascist. They just turn a bunch of people off from going to see the movie. Your core audience still remains comic book fans, and a lot of them are men. The majority of them are men. Like Star Wars leans male, and no matter what you do, that never crosses into the female territory. Even with Baby Yoda, it always leans male. Marvel at least crosses over occasionally into the female dynamic, but it's usually male. Your audience, your core audience for this product is men. So why do you want to change it so much to appease, to try to appeal to women or appease people? I'm a woman, and I'm already like, as soon as I'm hearing what you're saying, even if it's not going to play out that way, it's turning me off, because I'm afraid it's going to be more agenda and less about a good movie. And I'm not even the comic nerd like a lot of these people are that are upset about it. And then when it comes to the Silver Surfer, I get why they use the female one, because it's completely different this is a different dimension. It's not the 616. I get that. And I get that, she died in the comics pretty early on and all that. I get that. But that isn't the problem so much as the fact that she looks like crap. So you even have her there, and you're like trying to win people over towards having her there, but you make her look like she looks worse than the CGI Silver Surfer from years ago. Somehow you made her worse. And I don't know how you did it, but you somehow made it worse. So it's concerning. There's a lot of things to be concerned about, but you're already case building. That if it's basically like, if you don't like this movie, you hate women. So prepare yourselves for the only misogynists hate this movie, sexists hate this movie, somehow racists are going to hate this movie, but it's going to be all about, well, the man babies can't stand women in charge and all this other shit. They're already case building. And I hope to God that again, like the Dungeons and Dragons or Blue Beetle movie, where it was a lot of stupid stuff being said, but when the movie came out, it wasn't as bad as they were kind of leading you to believe. I'm hoping it's like that. But unfortunately, by you guys saying this stuff, you're turning people off because you're desperately trying to go after this female audience that isn't probably going to show up. And the thing is about this too, when my family, the one who wanted to go see all the Marvel movies and watch the Marvel shows was me. I'm the one who was like, when there was a trailer, we're there. Opening day, we're going. Whenever there was a new show, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Daredevil, whatever, I was the one watching it. Until recently, I still haven't watched a new Daredevil season, and I just don't have enough give a shit to watch this stuff half the time. And I used to not miss any of them. And I'm this audience you're going after with Sue Storm being the leader. And even I'm tired of it. And I'm already turned off by the thought because I know you're just going to probably ruin it for agenda. And that's concerning. I mean, it's a Fantastic Four. Please don't suck. I really don't want it to suck. I'm hoping it's good. For Kneon's sake anyway, because he was so excited about Fantastic Four. I really want it to be good. I really do. I'm hoping that these people are just out there making stupid comments, or they were telling her, you know, this, that, and the other, so she felt like she was more important than she is. I don't know. Some actors need that ego boost. I don't know if she's one of them. I'm hoping it's something like that. I really don't want it to suck, but I'm already hearing that that people were getting the test screenings and they were like, oh, it's mid. And this is like Grace Randolph and stuff. That's not good, guys. That's really, really, really not good. And it's probably because of stupid choices like this, if it's true. So, but it's coming from a director, so it probably is. So let us know what you think. Like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.